Hello everybody, I'm 100% me, aka Percy, and I have made a little data pack called Percy Sewing Kit. Percy Sewing Kit lets you change the appearance of elytra, armor, and also items, as you can see. Joining us here today over on my shoulder right now is my good friend Wood, and today we're going to show you exactly how to use Percy Sewing Kit. Now before we dive in, it should be noted that Percy Sewing Kit is a data pack that's very much a bring your own resource pack type of deal. As you can see, I've got some resources here in the background that I'll be using to demonstrate, but you need to bring your own resource pack if you want to use this. Now this video will be split up into 3 parts. In the first part, I will show you how to use the data pack straight and to the point. In the second part, I'll show you some use cases, some really cool things you can do with it. And those will just be some examples that I've come up with while developing this. I'm sure all of you can come up with even more cooler stuff that I'm really curious to see. And the third part is for the people that are going to set up the resource packs. We're going to get really technical. There are a few things that you need to set up in a certain way for some of these features to work. Now please note that this is a showcase video and not a tutorial. If you're going to be the one setting up the resource packs, well, in this video I'm assuming that you already know how to do that. So without further ado, let's dive into the video and let me show you how you can use this data pack. Now essentially, Percy Sewing Kit exists out of 3 triggers. There is PSKEnchantmentGlint, PSKEquipmentAsset, and PSKItemModel. Let's start by explaining this one, which I imagine is going to be the most popular one, PSKEquipmentAsset. The PSKEquipmentAsset trigger allows you to change the look of elytra and of armor. As you can see, I use it over here with these two. So what you'll need is an elytra or armor, of course. And to show that this works with all types of armor, I'm just grabbing a wide variety of armor. Then what you want to do is walk over to your anvil and you want to put in your item over there. Now for this one, I want to change the elytra to look like those wings. We're going to put this in here and we're going to give this a very special name. Now the name that we're giving it is a namespaced idea, which is how Minecraft stores resources in your resource packs. By naming it just right, Minecraft knows which resource to get. And so in my example for those wings over there, that will be Percy : wings. You'll notice that nothing happened here yet. It doesn't look different yet, except for the name has changed. That's by design. Because now we can trigger PSKEquipmentAsset, and as you can see, the icon will change now. It also doesn't have that weird name anymore. And if we equip it, you can see we get a different texture from the elytra texture, right? I'm also realizing I forgot to put the item frame here. There we go, much better. And for the armor over here, we want to do a very similar thing. We want to go in here and simply name this to a namespaced idea like we did before. Percy, Now, of course, I want all my armor to have this really cool texture. So what I'm going to do, because I'm lazy, is I'm going to select this, copy this, and then paste this onto all the other pieces of armor here. And now, if I trigger PSKEquipmentAsset again, you can see that the icon starts changing, and when we equip it, that it starts looking like a dino onesie. Look at that! That's really cool, isn't it? And so the PSKEquipmentAsset trigger changes the item model of your item as well as the equipment model. And to clarify the item for this, as you can see, I'm holding it in my hand. This is of course flat, this helmet, but when I wear it on my head over there, you can see that it's 3D, it wraps around, right? Minecraft makes a difference between the item model, which is this, and the equipment model, which is what it shows on your body. And that is very important to know for the next part of this trigger. You see, with this trigger, we can really only change the equipment model, which has this shape, and you cannot really make a 3D model out of this. For example, if I want this really cool top hat over here, well, I can't really have it just like that. That's a shame, isn't it? Well, luckily I thought of that. If I want to have a cool 3D model like this on my helmet, what I can do is first, of course, grab a helmet. Let's do a netherite helmet right there. I'm going to name this to the namespace idea of the top hat over there. Take it out like this. Now what I can do is trigger PSKEquipmentAsset again, but now I type in set and then put the 2 behind it. And what it's going to do, as you can see, it's going to turn the item into the top hat. But it's also going to remove the equipment model. You see, now we have the cool custom model on top instead of just the boring default helmet shape. Here in my hand, I have a very special top hat that I just created that will show what will happen if you don't use that very special trigger. As you can see, if I equip it, it will show up as a netherite helmet, right? This is why there is a difference between an item model and an equipment model. Let's get rid of that. We don't want that. I want this top hat. This is much cooler. And there's one final part to that trigger. If I grab a helmet, any random helmet, let's grab the gold one. Why not? Of course, if I put this on top of my head, it will show up as a golden helmet over there. Again, this over here is the equipment model. But if I type trigger PSK equipment asset set 3, it's going to simply remove the equipment model. And so what that means is if I put this on top of my head, and this is going to look a little funny, over there you can see it's now showing the item model instead of the equipment model. Now this may seem a little weird. Why would I implement this? Well, later on in the second section, I will show you a use case and it will show why this is actually really powerful and really, really cool. But for now, we're going to get rid of this. Now that's everything that you can do with PSK equipment asset. So let's move on and talk about what you can do with the trigger PSK item model. What you can do is you can take literally any item that's in the game and make it look like any other item that's in the game, but also any other item that's available in your resource pack. Let's just grab something random, like, I don't know, the loom over here. I can rename this to Minecraft. I see redstone lamps in the background. Just like so. And as you can see, Minecraft here is the namespace and a redstone lamp is the resource we want. And that's of course very similar to the equipment asset trigger we just saw. But if instead I trigger PSK item model, you will see it starts looking like a redstone lamp. But be not fooled by the appearance of this redstone lamp, for it is of course not a redstone lamp. It is still a loom. You can see it when I start placing it down. It's placing down a loom, right? And it functions like a loom. This is very much a loom. The only thing that's different about this loom is that in my hand, in my inventory, it looks like a redstone lamp. And let's grab another item. Let's just do this button over here. Of course, I can rename it to any other resource that's available. So that's also things from the resource pack. So if I do Percy : wings, which is of course those wings over there, and then I trigger PSK item model, you will see that it starts looking like those wings. Now, again, this is very much a button, and this is not wings that you can put on your back like this, right? It just looks like wings. And so with the PSK item model trigger, you can make any item look like any item. Finally, we have the PSKEnchantmentGlint trigger. And what this does is it acts as a toggle. What I can do is I can grab any item that I like. Let's just grab the anvil, random, why not? And then trigger this trigger, and as you can see, it now will have an enchantment glint on it. Look at that, it's like the anvil is enchanted. Now again, this is visual only. It doesn't actually have any enchants on it. And like I said, it acts as a toggle, so I can trigger it again to remove it. And similarly, I can grab any other item that has the enchantment glint on it, like golden apples, for example, or the enchanted golden apple rather. Trigger this trigger, and now it no longer has that glint. Here's a bottle of enchanting, same idea. Now it no longer has the glint. And of course I can turn it back on again if I want. Now that is what you can do with my data pack. Let's move on to the second part of this video, where I show you some use cases, where I can show you how I envision you can use this in your survival world, for example. And for this, I'm going to clear my inventory real quick so that we can have a fresh start. So here's something really cool you can do with the PSK equipment asset trigger. If I grab leather armor, just a full set of that, I'm going to rename these to Percy : Dino 1C. Not to be confused with Percy : Percy Dino 1C. That's the one that we have in the background over here. This one is a little different, and you will see why in just a minute. We'll trigger PSK equipment asset. You can see that they turn white, these ones, and that's for a very special reason. Now I'm going to grab some dye. You might be able to see where this is going. Also, my favorite color is green, so let's do a combination of both of these. I will make the boots and the chest green, and then we'll make the pants and the cap lime. Well, as you can see, you can have your own very colorful armor like this. And of course, in my case, this is a very comfortable onesie, but of course this can have any texture that you like. Now, similarly, if I grab another leather cap, I'm going to name this Percy Pirate Hat. We're going to get that one over there. But of course, this is a 3D model with its own unique shape, and it doesn't have the regular default equipment model that wraps around your head. And so we'll be using set 2 here. You can see it starts looking like the pirate hat. Let me grab some red dye, which I figure always looks best here. You can see for this one, I've made the feather change color. And so here we have a 3D model where you can also change the color, which is really cool. Now, if you remember, I was also talking about PSK equipment asset set 3. I was telling you how that one is super powerful and much more awesome than you think it is, that it might look like at first sight. You see, in Minecraft 1.21.5, we have a brand new feature. You see, you can set up your resource pack in a way that when you rename something to a specific name, and I've set it up for this diamond helmet so that if you give it this very specific name, you can see it changes the texture automatically. But this is really cool, and honestly, I much prefer this over my own method because this is a lot more immersive. You don't have to type in any commands in chat to make it work, right? But an issue is if you have this on a helmet, like I just did with this diamond helmet over here, and I put this on top of my head, this still looks like a diamond helmet, right? Do you see it? That looks like a diamond helmet. I want it to look like my cap. So that's what that trigger is for. Let's take this off of my head and type in PSKEnchantmentGlint set 3. You can see that, well, first of all, nothing changes. It doesn't look like it, but it has removed the equipment model. And so now I have a diamond helmet that actually looks like that cap, which is really cool. Now let me clear this again for the final section of the video where I show how to set up your resource pack. Now for this, I'm actually going to start by explaining the PSKItemModel trigger and how to set that up, because that's the simplest, and we're using the same thing also in the PSKEnchantmentAsset trigger. And to once again show this off, let me just grab a random item and name it to something random. Essentially what this trigger does, the PSKItemModel trigger, is it takes the custom name, right, the one that we've just given it in the anvil, and it's going to set that name as the item model. Now when rendering item models, Minecraft by default goes looking for files in the items folder of your resource pack. So in this case, once I trigger the trigger, it's going to set the item model to Percy::cap, and in my resource pack, I have a cap set up in the items folder. And as you can see, it turns into that cap. Now a very similar thing happens for the PSKEnchantmentAsset trigger. In fact, exactly the same thing is going to happen plus some additional stuff. If I name this to Percy::wings, it's going to set the item model to the name that we've given it, but also the equipment asset ID, which means not only do you need to have a file in your items folder, but also you need to have a file with the exact same name in your resource pack's equipment folder. And so if you've done this right and you trigger this trigger, it's going to set both the item model as well as the equipment asset ID to the name that you've given it. And as you can see, the item changed, and of course, the Elytra itself changed. Now where it gets a little special and different is with armor, because there is one file for all the equipment here, for all the equipment models, but there are separate files for the item models. As you can see, this one looks very different than that one. So let me grab some armor. What you'll see I'm going to do is I'm going to give this the name of the equipment model. I'm going to do that for all of them. Now, if I were to trigger it, it's going to set the equipment model to the name that it has. But then for each of these, it's going to add a little something to the end of it. For the helmet, that will be _helmet. For the chest plate, that will be _chest plate. For the leggings, that will be _leggings. And for the boots, that will be _boots. Now that happens automatically and behind the scenes. But that means that your item models need to have the same name as your equipment model, except for a helmet will have _helmet behind its name. Chest plate will have _chest plate behind its name. Leggings will have _leggings behind its name. And the boots will have _boots behind its name. And so as you can see, if I trigger this, I'm going to do this for all of them, and I equip them. The equipment model is Percy _Dino_1C, as we've just filled in. But the item models will be that plus _helmet, _chest plate, _leggings, or _boots, depending on the item that it is. And so that concludes this look into Percy's sewing kit. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I cannot wait to see what all you're going to make with my data pack. The link can be found in the description, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!